Okay, great. So 11 o'clock, shall I start? Great, okay. Welcome everybody to my presentation. My first slide has a guiding question. What does it mean to be human? And um, you, our school XP is basically as follows the expeditionary learning pedagogy, and which means it's cross-subject learning, and all our expeditions have a guiding question. And we thought about our school, and if a school was to have a guiding question, we believe that this would be a really good one. What does it mean to be human? And the quote on the picture above the doors is in a school in Springfield, Massachusetts, in America. Yes, there is a real town called Springfield. In fact, there's a few in America. Uh, and it's Springfield Renaissance School. And to start a school is to proclaim what it means to be human, is what Tom James wrote in Expeditionary Learning's application to start their school. So I'm going to move through these slides, and it's all about, the theme is all about opening a school, starting a school, building a culture, building a curriculum, and building a community. And what that sort of meant to us in reality was a strategic vision turned into an operational reality. Myself, Gwyn Ap Harri, and Andy Sprakes were the founders of XP School in Doncaster, and we had a vision for creating a school that was based on social equity and cross-subject learning, allowing kids to do work that is purposeful and meaningful and has authentic outcomes. So I'm going to take you through that little story, that little journey that we took over the last few years. Um, this was our timeline. I apologise about the craftsmanship quality of this slide. Converting from Keynote to PowerPoint was my downfall. But as you can see here, can you see the little red dot? Can you see the little dot? It goes from inspiration to start a school through to what is it that we want to do, through to getting the teachers together and starting operationals and induction, and then move into actually becoming a school, along to putting together all our processes for the first time, then to saying, well, that went well or that didn't go great. So we did some fine tuning, and we use the word iteration a lot, where you do something and you do something again and you do something again until you get it as right as it can be. Then through curation of our practice, so explaining to others what it is that we do. The only way you can disseminate your practice is to curate it properly. So this is part of it, and I'll invite Richard Pountney onto the stage when I get to that part so that he can explain a little bit about that. And then once you've done it for 1 year, we have to work out how to scale up. And then the final bit in terms of our timeline at the moment is how we then work in partnership with the wider community. So that's our timeline. So we start off with the inspiration. So first of all, if you know anything about project-based learning, the best motivation to get through a project is to make it personal. That when you're designing projects or expeditions, you need to find hooks in order for kids and teachers to feel that they've got some vested interest in it. So we decided to make it personal, and we decided to make a school in Doncaster because that's where me and Andy both live, where our families are. We got our inspiration from High Tech High school, in a set of schools in San Diego. There's about 15, 16 schools there now. If you've not been, It's a great school, and it's in San Diego. Great place. Um, the fish tacos and the IPA are to die for. Um, we also, when we were at High Tech High, we were told about a guy called Ron Berger, and he's the Chief Academic Officer of Expeditionary Learning. So we contacted them, and we found we were really more connected to the pedagogy of expeditionary learning because it's more of a teacher training model than just a vision of how schools should be in terms of High Tech High. But by doing those things, we met people, we created relationships and connections in order for us to start our school. And another part of our, the inspiration, I talked about making it personal. I first started thinking about a school and creating a school was maybe in 2005, and this is my son Jack in his mother's belly, and this is Jack pretty much now, and that's his application to our school. So he's now 12 years old, and he's a student in Year 7 in XP. And that's so important when you start doing a project that you have vested interest in it, and how much more vested interest can you have when you're creating a school for your own kids. Throughout this journey, this is a few snapshots of the people and the places that we went to. This is Larry Rosenstock, the CEO of High Tech High. Um, he's great. He thinks I'm crazy, and I think he's crazy, so that's good. This is when we went to America and met Ron Berger. He's the little guy with the great ideas, and this is Andy, my partner in crime, the Robin to my Batman, as I like to say. Uh, then this relationship got reciprocated when Ron and his wife came to see us, and this is my house in Doncaster in Thorn. You may recognise it. It did feature on an episode of Grand Designs, but I'll let you find that out. And then this lady here, a very special lady, Dr. Anna Switzer. She's a school designer for expeditionary learning, and I asked Ron if they knew anybody who could help us start the school, and got me connected to Anna. And Anna is stood outside the hotel in a place called Aberdyfi in Wales, just above Aberystwyth, and that's where Outward Bound started. Now, the connection between Outward Bound is that expeditionary learning came out of Outward Bound USA, which came out of Outward Bound UK, which started in a little hotel in Aberdyfi here. A conversation between a guy called Kurt Hahn and Lawrence Holt. They started the first Outward Bound Centre in Aberdyfi to work on developing character in navy in the navy, and that's where this whole place started. So there's a deep history there that you might want to follow. If you want to Google Kurt Hahn, you want to look at Outward Bound, you want to look at expeditionary learning, you want to look at High Tech High, just Google them and you'll find out loads and loads of history. It's weird though that I had to go to San Diego to come back to Aberdyfi, which coincidentally is the guy who used to run the Outward Bound, AJ. His sister was my dad's first girlfriend. Small world, eh? Okay, let's move on. So we started with our strategic vision, and one of the questions I asked the same question to Ron Berger as I did Larry Rosenstock, and that was, what was the one most important thing that you would say to me when we started a school? And Ron said, it's not about projects. You can get projects right. You can fix projects. It's about your culture and get your culture right. And me and Andy, actually, we were so worried about doing projects because we've never done them before. When he started talking about culture, that's something that we really understood. Andy was the head at Campsmount School in Asken, which is a ex-mining village. Most places are in Doncaster, ex-mining villages, really tight-knit community there. So we knew how to build up a culture. Larry said, "Do not segregate your kids," and I didn't quite understand what that meant when he first talked about it. But now that we have mixed ability kids in all our classes, I completely understand what he means. It means when you build a community, when you build a culture, you want that community to achieve more because of the differences in those kids and people, and not siphon people off in terms of sets. When you set people according to ability, you set them according to social demographic. Um, and that's a real key part of our school in terms of social equity. You know, I know there's talk, not amongst my friends, but there's talk um, from the government about grammar schools and stuff like that. And personally, it was illegal a few months ago. I think it's still evil. Um, I know most schools still set kids, uh, and I think I do quite frankly think it's immoral, but that's coming from my experience now of being in a school with mixed ability kids. Um, Coming off there, we've got our design principles, character values, habits of work and learning, and how we contextualized all these things in order to create the school. And I'll talk you through these three things. So I'll go through design principles first. So High Tech High is based on design principles, and when they told me this, I was like, right, I've got a design background in computer science, so I know what a design principle is. It's sort of like if someone comes to you and says, I want a new, I want to design a new kettle. I've got some ideas for a new kettle. A design principle is sort of when you go, well, no, actually, it's not a kettle you want to design. What's the problem that you want to solve? And you might work it out that you might want to be able to deliver boiling hot water into a vessel that you can drink from safely, and that's how you break down problems into design principles. They have to be specific. They can cross over as a lot of principles do, but they cannot conflict. Um, we wanted them to be based on researched evidence, and you use them to choose ideas and not generate them. So you don't look at your design principles and go, right, yeah, this tells me what to do. If you come up with an idea, you check it back with the big picture, and which is defined by your design principles, and say, well, does this fit? And for me to illustrate that, I'll show you my design principles. This slide shows you the history of the design principles of High Tech High. They actually came from the New Urban High School project, which was run by Big Picture Learning organisation. Again, you could Google that, Big Picture Learning. But you can see the sort of rich history of these things. So I'll show you. This is what ours are. And we've borrowed these heavily from High Tech High. So personalization. Personalization to us doesn't mean giving a differentiated worksheet out in each class to different students. Personalization to us means that we express who we are through our work, and that includes teachers and students. We forge our own pathways, and importantly, we have ownership of our learning. We talk about our kids being leaders of their own learning. Connection to the world, or connect with the world. We start off with outward bound. So the first day in our school, all our kids get together and they go outward bound, and they go outward bound for 4 days, and that's where they forge their crew and form connections with the natural world and with themselves. And then we bring that back into the school, and we do projects where we create products that live in the outside world. We bring experts into the school, and we take our kids out and we do field work. So our kids have created, they're published authors, so they've created books that you can buy from Amazon, for instance. They've created educational and professional quality posters that exist in our local Doncaster Royal Infirmary. Um, we're creating posters for educational posters for the local Norman castle. We had a design. We've got a design brief from English Heritage, and we're creating products for them. And we've done field guides for the Potterick Car, the local nature reserve, and things like that. So our kids do work that matters. A common mission. Now, this came from High Tech High, and it was the thing that I didn't really understand until we started creating the school, and through creating a school, creating communities and communities of learners and communities of parents and communities of all different stakeholders. And this brings us back to social equity, not segregating our kids, and being bigger than the sum of our parts. You know, if you think about a community succeeds because they have a common mission to do something, and they're successful because they all have different skill sets. One of the things that sort of embodies a common mission is that we talk about being crew and not passengers, that if one of us fails, we all fail. And that's borrowed from Outward Bound. Teachers are learners. You know, very often as teachers, as a teacher myself, you can get caught up in the idea that you're an expert in your field when you're stood in front of 30 kids explaining to them how to do things all the time. But you know, I sort of see it. If we were real experts, then we'd actually be doing these things, you know, rather than teaching about them. Although we all have expertise in lots of different things, but rather than thinking about us as experts, thinking about us as learners, and this brings into professional development, continual professional development, but also that we are the leaders of our own learning. And so at our school, our teachers design their own curriculum, and they are in charge of their own timetable. I mean, probably one of the biggest differences between our schools and other schools is that our teachers are in charge of their own destiny. No longer can they say, I don't have time, because it's their time and they decide what to do with it. And then finally, we've got character values as our DNA. So we talk about lots of different things. We talk about um, we used our language. Language is really important to us, and actually we've this was our original design principle, and we've actually changed that to language is our culture, because it wasn't just about our character values, which you can see as a pretty poster up on most of our walls. It's the fact that we use these words all the time, and it's shared language. So we've actually changed this design principle recently to language as our culture. So we talk about not just us, but our kids talk about every single day in every single lesson. We talk about courage and different types of courage, like standing up in front of people and talking courage, like maths courage, like sporting courage. We talk about respect, which I'm sure everybody else does in schools. We talk about craftsmanship and quality. And this is where our mixed ability classes really work, because we don't have a limit to the higher ability kids. You know, their I guess their limit is their work indistinguishable from a professional work, and you know, I don't think you can get higher quality than that. So one of our design principles is about the language that we use. Um, the thing that manifesting our character traits are what we called our habits of work and learning, and this is a great slide to show you where we got stuff from, and to where we are now. So this poster here is from King Middle School in Portland, Maine, and these are their habits of work and learning, and underneath their titles of respect, responsibility, and perseverance, almost exactly the same. These bits here that you can't quite read are these things here, and I thought this was uh, not just a coincidence, but how it was designed. When we went to Springfield Renaissance, their habits of work and learning was work hard, get smart, and be nice. And then when we read these things, we went, well, these things are about working hard. These things are about getting smart, and these things are about being nice. And as British, we changed nice to kind because being nice sometimes has a it's a bit loaded where you're nice to them, but you're not, you don't actually like them. So we wanted to change the word nice to kind. And again, language is our culture. What's in a word? Everything. Um, Moving on, then, we went through our operational induction. The first year, our staff joined in April. Uh, all the subsequent years, our new staff would join in June, but they definitely don't join in September and say, here's your timetable, teach those kids, because our teachers have to learn how to be able to teach through expeditionary learning. They go outward bound because our kids go outward bound, and what's good enough for our kids is good enough for us. They do an expedition slice, which is a small expedition that, and they experience that as both students, so they are learning stuff, and then they unpack the learning as teachers. And then we have an educator-led conference rather than a student-led conference where they make their work public. Uh, these are the founding teachers here. That takes me back. So you've got Martin, Andy, who's our principal, Gemma, and Mark. And then we added some learning coaches, Jenny, Jackie, and Nikki. And there's Anna Switzer, who joined us. And yeah, we went outward bound together, and we learnt what it was like to be crew. So before I start this slice, I'll just give you an example. So the first year, what we did for staff induction, we did something. Anna led this, and we did something called Sikhs and Sustainability, and we looked at a religion, which was Sikhism, and sustainability, which was about food, and we looked at the world and how sustainable is the food that we eat. And we did field work in the Sikh temple, and it culminated where we created a vegetarian meal for the 200 parents and kids who were joining us in September. So I don't know if any of you have cooked a meal for 200 people, but that was our authentic product. And yes, it was as scary as it sounded. Curation and dissemination. Once we got onto that, and working with our school, we really wanted to capture what we were doing, and you can see loads of this on our website, and disseminate it. And one of the things that tools that we use is the software that you're in, Alice. And I just want to invite someone to stage, if I can do this. Yep, Richard. Hopefully this works. Are you there, Richard?
Yes, thank you.
Ah, hi. Would you like to talk about how we disseminate our craft?
Well, yes, thank you, Gwyn. Well, I'm Richard Pountney from the Sheffield Institute of Education, and I've been delighted to be involved with XP School from the start, and working with the staff to research and investigate its own curriculum and pedagogy. And I'm particularly interested in project-based learning, but working with Alice Online and Andy Madden and Andy Wright, we developed a virtual version of XP School itself. And anybody who's interested could join the tour this afternoon at 3 p.m. or see the recordings that are on the live stream in YouTube. But going to your point about curation, Gwyn, that allowed us to connect with the school in New Zealand, and you were able to talk to staff there, and the children in the school were able to see the work of the learners at XP. So there's all sorts of possibilities for dissemination through the platform that we're now using. Things like celebrations of learning, where the children show their work, gallery walks, and perhaps the audience will see that better when we, the end of your talk, Gwyn, when we move to the gallery.
Yep.
And I guess this is all part of the school and the learners being known for their work and their character. Would you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, you know the adage, if you can teach somebody something, you know it yourself. You know that's for both teachers and students. So part of our um, processes at XP is that we have ambassador tours. So if you visited us physically in the real world, you'd be greeted by uh, normally two of our students, and they would take you on a tour around the school and explain to you what it was that we do, how we do it, and what they get out of it. And it's not just a function to explain what we do. It's also a function to build that the community within those students, so they reflect on what they do. If they can tell you what they do, then you know they know deeply what it is they do and why they do it. Um, is there anything else you'd like to add, Richard?
No, thank you. I'm happy to talk to anybody when we go into the gallery, if anybody
Yep.
wants to ask me about the work I'm doing at XP.
Great. Okay, fantastic. I'll move on to the next slide. I'll put you back to the audience. Let me do this. Hold
Yeah.
on. There we go. Okay, just me on my own again. That's great. And it's fun. Uh, okay, yeah. So we're a small secondary school designed purposefully. We say deliberately sized rather than small because you know it's all relative, isn't it? Um, so when we're full, we're rolling up our school. So we started with year sevens. We've now got 7, 8, and 9. Next year we'll have 7, 8, 9, and 10. We have 50 kids in each year. We have 25 kids in each class, all mixed ability. It's random allocation, so our catchment area is the whole of Doncaster. Anybody can apply. It doesn't mean doesn't matter how close you are to the school, and the local authority picks 50 lucky kids out at random. I wanted to do it by putting golden tickets in chocolate bars, but apparently that's illegal in the UK. And so, you know, 350 kids, you know, we're doing something really special at our school, and that's great. But how do you scale up? You know, how do you make it bigger? Well, what we don't do is make the small school, personalised school, a human scale school, just into a bigger school. It's really easy. We make another smaller school. So, what launching this September 2017. Yeah, it's coming up fast. XP East will open, which is our second school. It's right next to our first school, and we'll form a campus again of 350 kids. And you know that's how you scale up in a human as a human scale, and keep it human and keep it personalized. You scale up by creating more small things rather than creating big things. In terms of a mat, we're a multi-academy trust, XP school trust, and we will be joined by an existing primary school in September as well, Greentop Primary School, which is based in Thorn, northeast of Doncaster, who are culturally aligned to us, believe in the same vision, the same principles, how our kids should learn, and how we should be focused on professional development all the time. We're not empire builders. We're not, you know, we're not an inward academy putting exams first. We are. We would create a small mat, and how would you create more mat? How would you make bigger mats? Well, you won't create bigger mats. You'd create more small mats. That's how we'd do it. And then finally, just to get for us to get out there, we need to, rather than shouting our mouths off about what we do, we really need to just explain to people what it is that we are doing, um, and not shout about what we're trying to do. So slowly but surely, as we are doing things and working throughout the years, we're in our third year, we are then working in partnership with wider organisations such as we've got a great relationship with the local authority, the local Teaching School Alliance. We do cross moderation with other schools. We have peer review in senior leadership as well as at teacher level. We partner culturally, like we've said, in terms of other schools. I don't see the point in working just locally if you're not culturally aligned with other schools. Personally, I haven't got enough time to be working with somebody who doesn't want to do what we want to do. So it's more about culture than geographical partnership. Nationally, we partner with Whole Education Network, and internationally, we've got great relationships with High Tech High and Expeditionary Learning. Impact so far, I won't go on too much about this because I'd rather be able to show you evidence of that, and the best way of you seeing the impact of our school is by joining the ambassador tour. I think you said it was 3 o'clock, and you can speak to our kids, and get it from the horse's mouth. But focusing on two things in our school is character development and quality work, because when we are adults, we are judged on those two things: who we are and the quality of work that we produce, and we see no difference in our kids. So hopefully in the 3 p.m. and you talk to our kids, you'll be able to. They will show you the work that they do. They will talk through the work that they do, and they will talk to you about character and habits of work and learning, and they buy into it wholesale. This wasn't actually last Friday. That's a bit of a joke, but it is a very new school. This school opened. We moved into this school actually not last November, November before. So the school building's relatively new, but that's what this is what it looks like. Real pictures, and these aren't Smurfs. This is me and Andy outside, proud as punch that two lads from Donny can create something and help with the battle for social equity for our children. And that's our website. So if you want to email me, feel free. If you want to go to our website, there are absolutely tons and tons and tons of stuff on our website in terms of because we curate all our work digitally. So all the expeditions that we've ever run, you can log in and you can see all those. We've done some cracking videos that are on our front page where you can see our students explaining about the culture of our school. And I am going to leave it at that. I will now attempt to do a questions and answers session here. So I'm going to click on this, and if you want to ask me a question, I think you have to say, yes, I want to ask a question, and then you get the mic, apparently. Let's go for it. Right. Hello, Andy.
Hello, Andy.
Do you have a question?
Do you have a question?
Oh, I can't hear you.
I can't hear you.
Okay, I'm going to move to someone else. Does anyone else want to ask me a question? No. Okay. Yeah, I didn't think. I didn't. That didn't go very well. I did. So what I will do is rather than have a question and answer thing, I think people are being shy. Oh yeah. Okay. Okay. So Richard's going to ask me a question. Yeah. So let's do that. Okay. I'm just going to click on. Well then.
Hi.
Hi, Richard.
Just to show the if anybody's watching how the system works. Say, how do you know your curriculum is working, Gwyn?
Great. Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much for that question. Yeah. Well, we have a real a tight assessment process. So our assessment process starts off with the curriculum mapping. So we've got standards-based curriculum based on national curriculum and GCSE standards. So we know what the kids should be covering. We set our kids a minimum expected grade so that based on prior attainment, so that we know the levels that they should be working at. We flight path that minimum expected grade to what you'd call 4 levels of progress up to Key Stage 4. So we have real high expectations of our kids, and then we have standards-based grading. So rather than giving them like a just for maths you're a 7 or a 5 or whatever, what we break down to what kids understand, so they may be able to understand the area of a circle, but they might not be able to work out the volume of a cylinder, that kind of thing. So we do standards-based grading, and then we cross-moderate all our work, and with outstanding schools in our locale. In that way, we know that our teacher judgment's secure, and just as indicative. If our kids were to take the same linear progression as they are doing right now, our data says that those kids would achieve 98% 5A star to C, including English and maths, and I'm fully aware that would put us as one of the highest attaining schools in the country, including selective schools. But that's what our data shows. And it's been cross-moderated. And if I could just do a handshake for that to actually happen, I'd do that right now. We know that our kids are making outstanding progress, both academically, but also through character, and that's through. We know that through parental feedback mainly.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to finish off here, and I'm going to exit to the gallery, and in the gallery there's going to be all our slides, and we can walk around and we can talk to each other if you so wish. So that's what I'm going to do now. So I'll see you in there.